Talk Show.
Recorded live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the Black Science Fiction Society.com website. This is your July 4th, 2014 edition. My name is William, and William Hayashi, and I'm your host for this evening. And tonight's special guest coming to us from a waterlogged North Carolina is Micah Lorick. Well, I mean, that's honest, isn't it?
It dried up, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And if you want to check out some of Micah's work, well, at least his profile, he's on the Black Science Fiction Society.com website, and we even have a video. Is this video also on YouTube?
Yes, the video is on YouTube, and I just reloaded it on the Black Science Fiction website.
Okay.
I had to do another cut of it, but yeah, it's there on YouTube. It's fairly simple to find. It's, as everybody saw on the flyer, POLOSOLO. POLOSOLO is one word, and you put in POLOSOLO double-minded, like colon and then double-minded, and you'll be able to find it's the first one that'll come up on YouTube.
Very cool. And your company is called Lorent Productions, right?
That is correct.
And what are you, like a video producer? What do you do currently? We'll talk briefly about that, and then we're going to jump back to how you started out. But just what are your main talents today that you are in your creative universe?
In my creative universe, let's say in video, my main talent is more of I write and I do create my own content, but so far as my company, I'm also able to service people who need video needs so far as weddings, events, and music videos, photography. So, but I pretty much write. Excuse me, I do have like a little cold or something like that, but I do create, write my own content and film it. Get my actors together, film, and every now and then I'll take on other people's projects.
So essentially, you're like a film production house, right?
Yes, I am.
There you go. And so let's start out with the basics now. Did you grow up in North Carolina?
Yes, I was born and raised, and so far as Charlotte, I'm one of the few native Charlotteans.
Because that's kind of like a commute city where people come and nobody is born there, but people come and live there?
That's what's been going on in the past, I'd say, 15 years that I know of and actually been paying some attention. Wow. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. You're asking anybody, they'll come from anywhere from Atlanta, from New York, from New Jersey. It's, a lot of people say it's hard to find us in the city.
Okay, all right. It's hard to find you. In these days of Google Maps, and of course, if you're using an iPhone and you're using that Apple Map thing, that's to be expected. Since those are horrible. I actually read a story about 2 weeks ago about somebody who was, I guess, driving to his destination using the Apple Maps and drove into a river.
At some point in time, did this person not think to look up? I'm trying to figure that out.
Exactly. Excuse me. Okay, so you're born and raised in the area.
Right.
What was like your early years like in school, things like that? Actually, what I really want to know is, you've got the film bug now, and you do production work now. Was this something that came to you early on, or something that kind of popped up later?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize for the noise in the background to the listeners. Fireworks are going out because I'm outside. And number two, to answer your question, it is something that I recently got into from the production end, but growing up with me and my father, interesting story is that his background, he was a truck driver, but me and him would sit and look at movies, and he would just break down what's going on behind the scenes. And it got to the point where I started being able to tell the same thing. And so that stuck with me up until I was able to get my monies up and buy my own equipment.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, when you talk about him talking about behind the scenes, how did he have production knowledge of the process, or was he kind of hipping you to how you construct the story, how you pace it, how you block it, show, don't tell, and all of those kinds of things?
No, he actually didn't. We never got that far into the camera work and things like that. What actually happened was, it's like, as a kid, you think when you see stuff on the screen, it's like, it's magic. But because because one thing is, wanted to learn. Before HBO used to have a behind the scenes stuff, but before that, we'd be looking at something and he'd pause it and he'd be like, take a look at this, and this is what's happening here, where they're cutting that and this. Can I get something to drink, please? Thank you. So that's what he would show me, and then it would get to the point where my education came into looking at when they did play the behind the scenes on places like on HBO and stuff like that, and it just lined up with what he was telling me.
Okay. Hold on. We've got two of you.
You don't like me?
Something. No. What happened? What happened is there's two of you listed live in the show. So I clicked on one and it was you, and then I clicked off you and clicked the other one.
I know what happened.
I'm just trying to cut down a little bit on the background noise. That's all.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll roll my windows up every now and then. Like I said, it's the fireworks and stuff are going off, and I apologize for that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I mean, here in Chicago, even on the north side, after dark, it sounds like Beirut. I think that's just a good old-time urban tradition. I'll tell you a funny story real quick, and then we'll get back to it. One night, my parents were at a New Year's Eve party, and I'm a Chicago South Sider, and all of their friends were on the South Side. So one New Year's Eve, they went to this party at somebody's house, and just before midnight, like about a minute before midnight, somebody announced, "Okay, it's time," and my folks watched everybody go to their coats and get all their guns, and then at midnight, they went outside, they all shot up off into the air, and then came back inside, put their guns away, and then went on with the party. So this is an old home time tradition here in Chicago.
Gotcha.
So so your dad is at least tipping you to how it sounds like really how movies are constructed in terms of what you can see on the screen and what it takes to make that happen. And how old were you when you all started doing that?
Wow, we started doing that. I have to say I was at least 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
I mean, when I started listening to it, before that, when he was able to say, "Mike, do you know when the coyote goes off the cliff and dies and hits the ground, you know in real life that would not happen. There's no coming back for that coyote." It never took the magic away from me out of the silliness and everything. But the fact of the matter is to know the difference between fantasy and reality really helped me out.
Okay, so, but that kind of gave you the nuts and bolts of what's going on in film, cartoons, whatever you saw on the TV, and about how did that kind of twist things? And I don't mean twist in a bad way, but how did that kind of evolve into your desire to maybe create on your own?
Thank you. Well, how that evolved is that I'm about to open up a drink. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Then what happened?
Did you bring? Wait. Did you bring enough for everybody?
Yeah. I got to pull the Jesus act.
No, that's okay.
Got to break
go
the
ahead
bridge.
And enjoy. No. Go ahead and enjoy.
Okay. Repeat the question for me one more time, please.
No, I was wondering how at what age and how it turned you from, first of all, you're grooving on it with your dad. You're hanging with your dad, and you guys obviously have this thing that you like to do together. How did that evolve into you thinking about doing your own filming, your own content, your own interest in movies?
What happened is that because I love the movies, and when I got older, first of all, my dad died when I was 19.
Okay.
So at the time, I'm just finding myself, and what happened is I got older, and I just started I got back to looking at movies again, thinking about what he said, and eventually, about 6 years ago, I'll say a little bit about 10 years ago, it just started to come full circle. It's like I started listening started listening to his voice again. And it was like, and if I'm answering your question correctly, it was like thinking if he was still alive, this is something me and him would have been able to do together.
Right.
So, and then, not to take away from anything, missing this point, I did not know this until not too long ago. My mother used to do a lot of writing in school, and that was her thing, to create and write stories. Mm-hmm. So, like you say, you have, each person is half their parents sometimes. And I just came to a point where I just merged it together. I hope you heard that last thing besides that firecracker.
Man, it sounds like somebody's having some fun over there.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, but did I answer your question correctly?
Yeah, and don't worry about it. I mean, it's not like, this is not really strict Q&A because you know what? When you try to describe how your life is, and I'll be honest with you, I've done a couple radio and TV things, and you get about 6 minutes.
Right.
And if I were to be entirely honest with those people, which I don't want to because I want to keep getting invited back, I would tell them, what the hell do you think people are going to learn about me in 6 minutes? So don't even worry about it. We're just having a conversation here.
Gotcha.
All right. So I mean, for you to, you did something with your dad that was a lot of fun, and it was educational, and it stuck with you, and so then you think to yourself, well, you know what? He's not here, but not only can I honor what we used to do, but it sounds like it was something you were going to be interested in anyway. Would that be fair to say?
That would be. I wanted to, when I was younger, the other thing is I wanted to act. And what my biggest heartbreak came when I was 14, and during that age of puberty, you got acne coming up, right? A lot of kids have acne. So I'm trying out. Nickelodeon was in Charlotte, and we were doing tryouts. And, I don't have the best of skin at the time. Okay. And so, of course, they have to doing the tryout for, like, Double Dare. Double Dare was my show. I always wanted to be on there. And so, of course, they zoomed in on my face, and then they're going to sit up there and tell my mom, like, he's smart, but the thing is just this acne he's got on his face. I'm sitting over there looking at the woman. How dare you tell me that when I know you put makeup on people's face?
Well, yeah, there is that. But then, if you and this is not saying that you did, but sometimes there's only so much that the makeup can do. When I was growing up, I had acne so bad they were feeding me. What is that? Oh, tetracycline.
Wow.
And yeah, exactly. So, it's too bad that you. First of all, they never should have said it where you heard it if they were going to talk to your mother.
Right.
You know. And but on the other hand, maybe it was something that pushed you into coming around to where you are now.
Exactly.
You know, oh well, if I'm not going to be in front of the camera, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my own movies. You know, that sort of thinking.
Right.
And with your mother writing, what did she write? Like, was it short stories, poetry, books? What was her genre?
She was short stories, and they were just stuff in school. It was so long ago. I have yet to read any of this stuff. So I'm 30 years younger than my mother.
Uh-huh.
And interestingly enough, 20 years younger than my dad. So,
okay.
But my mom's stuff, I mean, she's just now running the stuff that she had from when she was going to school when I was still around. So, of course, I hadn't seen the stuff back from her high school days. So that's what she's telling me that she was writing back then at school.
Mm-hmm.
So to her, it's like she's kind of, when she sees some of my stuff, it's like she thinks about her. So
okay.
I wouldn't know. Like I said, it was high school, but I know it wasn't the poetry and things like that. I know it wasn't poetry. I know it was stories.
Right. And then while you're, that's elementary school around that time with you and your dad. Did you at all turn toward, the film arts while you were in elementary school or in high school, or was it even later than that?
What I did through the years, elementary school, they had this thing where you could do the announcements on the closed circuit TV.
Okay.
And I was actually in charge. I was actually able to work with some of the graphics back then. Yeah, I'm 36, so 6th grade. I'm 11,
right?
Something like that. So that was elementary school. Then I get to junior high, and I'm in drama club. I'm not drama club. I'm actually taking a drama class, theater.
Okay.
And high school, I was taking a drama class there, even though we didn't really put on anything to perform. I was actually trying to work on my acting then. And so that's what happened to me during my child and adolescent years.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really get a chance to get my hands on a camera until I was, I'm trying to think how old my daughter was. So I had to be like 25 before I got my hands on a camera. Because honestly, I learned to edit before I actually filmed.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a lot of people, there's all kinds of ways you can come to it. 2 weeks ago, I was interviewing somebody, and I can't remember anybody's name because I'm really old. But some people actually choose to learn the fundamentals about, even an artistic field, an artistic kind of bent, before they go ahead and actually sit down and do, like some artists want to learn how to draw first before they take off and do their first comic book. And then there are those people who just want to go ahead and do it and jump right in with both feet.
Right.
In high school you got to edit, and I'm guessing this was digital, not analog, right?
Right.
And
it was in high school. In high school, I never got to edit.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I didn't get to edit until one of my the star of my film is over here heckling me about these fireworks on Instant Messenger right now. In high school, I didn't get to edit at all. So here it is. What happened to me was, after I came out of technical college for computers, I learned PowerPoint, and I'm gonna shorten this up. At my job, there was this end of the year presentation that we would do using PowerPoint. So I'm fresh learning all the new stuff for PowerPoint, and I just learned how to put video in there. So I'm telling people at my job, let's start dropping video in here and making it more interesting. So that's where it started with PowerPoint. And then next thing I know, one of the IT guys is like, Mike, I see you got a knack for this. He hands me Photoshop so I can start manipulating the pictures. And I'm having to learn how to do the pictures in Photoshop, but I'm still using Windows Movie Maker to edit the video.
Okay.
Work. Then he's like, okay, well, you've been doing good with Photoshop and Movie Maker. I got my hands on Premiere and After Effects. He was like, here, I'm not using it. Here you go. So that's like 25, 26 years old. That's when I had got my hands on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So between me coming out of high school, dealing with the death of my father, trying to stay, work and everything like that, and it finally come back around to where I said, it started. Dang, Dad started back talking with me, talking back through me is how it happened. So that's the long of it.
Okay, so I mean that's pretty cool. I mean, early 20s is still fairly young to jump right into something, especially something that you didn't really hit up in school. So okay, so part of your work was starting out with the PowerPoint, starting out with a little bit of video. When were you able to start doing things strictly for your own production? How soon did that happen?
That happened the first one happened in 2008.
Okay.
The first time I did something for my own. Also, the first year I got that was the year I got my YouTube channel. And we did I did like a short comedy, and that was the first time I did something for myself. Prior to that was I cut my teeth in video, doing wedding videos.
Okay.
So,
and did you have your own equipment by then?
Yeah, I bought a Panasonic camera, not a high def. I was still using mini DV tapes at the time.
Uh-huh.
And going at 2008, high def hadn't rang in like big just yet. So so I had my own tape by that time. Okay. You got it?
You need something?
No, I'm good for now. Thanks. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's nice that you get curb service.
I'm not right now. It's gonna sound funny. I'm on purse patrol right now, so it's like put the purse in the car. Keep an eye on it.
Uh-huh.
So sorry, but yeah, I had at the time I had a Panasonic. Great color, downloading stuff. Before then, that was when I had my own stuff, and I was working on my own. Prior to that, I had used my granddad's high. He had a camcorder with a high 8 tape in it. And I know a lot of people are like, what? Depending on who's listening to the age, they're gonna what is a high 8?
Dude, I still have my high 8 camera somewhere around here.
Yeah, but that high 8 camera, I recorded some stuff that shall remain unspoken of. So, let's say that tape never made it back to Granddad's house. So,
look, there's no shame in doing porn, okay? I'm just telling you, sometimes if a man has to make money, if you have to put food on your table, you got to take whatever job you can.
Oh boy, that was just me being crazy. Everybody know about bike rally at some point in time.
Okay.
So, But yeah, like what you're saying, by that time 2008, I had my own camera, and as a matter of fact, one of the guys that did visual effects, on the film POLOSOLO, me and him had bought the same camera on purpose because we wanted to make sure we were catching more than one angle, things like that, and being able to. So yeah, so that's that was all the camera I had back then. So
well, it sounds like it was pretty methodical. I mean, you got the camera, you had editing software, you knew, some quick and dirty ways to get into making money, right at the beginning. Well, no, I make fun, but I mean seriously, when you think about it, a lot of people want to go and start a business and have less, I would say less of an idea on how they're going to start up and actually produce something. And when I say produce something, I mean make money. Because let's be honest, the bottom line to all of this is being employed. I'm a creative. I write books, I write screenplays, but the bottom line is I want to get paid. I want to make some money out of that. And you had that going on. You had, so I don't like, now the guy with the other camera, was he like a partner or an associate? How did you guys collaborate?
One, he's a longtime friend of mine, and two, it was more kind of an associate. It wasn't a, we worked together great. If it would sound like a partnership, because if money was made, he was there. I had no problem splitting it with him because he did the work.
Right.
It was
right.
Us. I mean, like I said, we was doing weddings. It wasn't the, so the other stuff really was honing our skills for other things, to learn how to do the blocking and the way we want the scenes to look. But it was more, like I said, more wedding, that kind of money. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and for weddings, a lot of people think, oh, he's just a wedding photographer or documenting weddings. I have my videographer, the one that I work with the most. He would call me in when he couldn't get his regular assistant to help, and the amount of stuff that he would do, what he knew how to do, and then to come back around and to post-produce the work that he got, so that he could make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per wedding. It's not an inconsiderable task, and it's not easy, because people who are getting married and their parents can just be buck crazy. So it's not the easiest way to make money, but obviously you must have done it well in order to move along as you did. So you start out doing weddings or pickup work like that. How long was it before you started producing your own work? And then this is kind of a two-part thing. When you talked about you do your own writing now, things like that, do you draw a little bit upon some of the things you might have seen or learned from your mother's writing, or did you just completely strike out on your own, and it was a matter of you getting up and figuring out how to be a good writer?
Well, to answer your question, the first part of the question, 2009 is when I started.
Right.
Producing my own stuff, and that actually happened when I finally decided to bump up to HD, because I knew where things were going. Everybody was talking about high definition. There's no point in me still using a standard definition camera, so I went from one Panasonic to the next one.
Okay.
I had to live, so, and on top of that, I was also going through a divorce at that time. Talk about ironic. The wedding guy going through a divorce. I had to get, so I had to use, in the situation with me using, I had to use tax money to get my camera, and it wasn't.
Right.
So I went and got the new high-def camera, and still hadn't seen, and to answer the second part, still hadn't seen any of my mom's work, right?
Okay,
What
sure.
I did was, what I did was I drew upon what was going on with me at the time. And I started talking to other people about certain situations, and it's like, okay, I start hearing the same lines, and then I was like, okay, well, let me set up the scenario. What would happen? And I just went from there. And just once I set up the scenario, because part of it I've been through, and listen to what other people say, that's how I got going with it. So
your stories and your content were situational, right out of life, then, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I just able to be able to create a situation that was kind of already there, and then just put a different spin on it sometimes.
Okay, so you get your YouTube channel in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
You start producing your own content,
mm-hmm.
and you already have your editing skills.
Right.
What kind of response did you get to your earlier work when you first started doing your work? What kind of response did people give you?
Okay, what I got was a lot of people. My first one was actually I'm trying to think, was it that Excedrin or a Excedrin commercial, or was it that Heinz contest we entered? Didn't get much feedback from that one, but the comedy that I did, I got some pretty good feedback, some laughs. Some of it was on YouTube. Some of it, at the time, wasn't everybody really into YouTube because of the area I was in. So I had to make DVDs and show them stuff that I was doing, but everybody thought it was pretty creative, pretty funny. I had somebody I was working with at the time. We both came up with a scenario, and we just went for it. And it was pretty well received. From the people that saw it.
Okay, you want to describe?
I'm sorry, you went out. I didn't hear you. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
I hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
you see,
all right.
So I want to describe what was it?
Yeah, I was gonna say give us kind of like the plot, the rundown of what that first posted piece was.
The first posted actual comedy that we did was called Yanked, and what it was about a convict and a nerd, and the convict and the nerd show up at this girl's house at the exact same time, and the premise behind it was basically neither one of these guys have had any sex because of their situation.
Okay.
One guy had been locked up. Another guy, just wasn't
no
getting
opportunity. Yeah, just no opportunity. Right.
So somehow this one girl invites them over at the same time. And so the convict's job, of course, alpha male, he sees somebody he can bully around, trying to get rid of the nerd. But the nerd ain't having it because it's been a minute for him. He's finally putting his foot down. So the thing is, go ahead.
Is this still posted?
Yes.
Okay. And your YouTube channel, what's the name of it?
This one is Devin Air 7. That's my personal one. DEVINAIRE 7.
Okay.
And that was still posted. That was like that was my first actual comedy. And the music and stuff we had on there, I had to put it up a second time because what happened was YouTube went back and started putting in that music content issue thing they were having, the UMA. Right. They started putting that up, so they pulled my whole audio because we had Naughty by Nature on there. And so we had that song going. They pulled all my audio, so I had to repost it. And with all original content.
Well, they did the same thing to me. I put a production trailer up for which we had the clearance. What did we use? Imagination's Illusion.
Uh-huh.
We had the clearance because it was just for a production trailer, And YouTube did this, they did a content warning and all kinds of things, and they said we could only keep it as private. They wouldn't even let us put it up as public. So,
wow.
yeah, YouTube has been pretty restrictive about certain things like that. I'm trying to look yours up right now. DEV as in Victor, ONAIR, or B?
Well, let me. You okay with me spelling phonetics, right?
I'm sorry?
Are you okay with me using military phonetics?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Delta, Echo. Yeah, Echo.
Yeah.
Victor.
Yeah.
India.
Uh-huh.
November.
Got it. Keep
Alpha.
going. Just say them. Yeah.
Okay. India, Romeo, Echo, 7. That's also that's also my name when I play laser tag.
Okay.
I made that up also from playing Street Fighter 2. So I used to have the initials DAS.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let me ask you this. How did you find your way to the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website?
Okay. Mr. Roy Hatcher, the guy who also did the fight choreography for POLOSOLO, he was the one that introduced me to it. He's more into building video games, but he was telling me about it. And it was like, man, you need to go ahead and sign up for this. And I think artist Lena J got to me also.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of them got to me, but Roy was the first one.
Because being a science fiction, a black science fiction oriented site, people are probably wondering, well, what's the connection?
Right. Well,
and so, you're obviously a talented videographer, and you're producing your own content. Do you see like sci-fi based content being something that you're going to capitalize on in the future?
Of course, especially with POLOSOLO being going to be where it's going to be the springboard for it.
Okay.
So
talk a little bit about that.
So far as POLOSOLO itself, or just it being a springboard?
Well, talk about. Why don't you describe POLOSOLO first, and then tell us the evolution. What your plan is, how you're going to move things forward.
Okay, POLOSOLO, and I gotta say it was inspired by Miss Artist Lena J, from a writing challenge we did back on Facebook. And she said, hey, look, we just write in this group. Let's just write some science fiction stories. And I had this idea for, give me a second, you're having Coke, Excuse me, didn't want to burp on the radio.
Uh-huh.
But so I had this idea of an NSA agent who she has this situation going where she finds out her boyfriend is a terrorist, but the issue with it is that he's not only is he's a terrorist, but, he's suspected to be a terrorist, but she apparently has been poisoned with something, but it's not of this world. There's some elements in it, trace elements in it, are not of the indigenous earth that they stay on. And
okay.
Somehow there's this technology that allows this agent to be able to track him through different parallel universes. But the problem with it is she's got to find out, is it true that he is a terrorist or not? So that's how it started, which pretty much I kept the same premise in POLOSOLO, even though you kind of don't see the, if parts of it are mentioned in the double-minded video.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this thing where it was like a couple of pages. She shows up at the apartment, at his apartment, but she's looking around and he's not there. Somehow he eludes her, and the chase begins. And he runs into some different worlds where he's having to. He runs into different versions of him and her together.
Okay.
Like if their lives would be a little bit different, not in that particular adventure. So, and it got me to thinking about how our lives would be if we taken different paths in our lives, and being able to see that. So that's what got me started on POLOSOLO.
Mhm. And so when you look at this, is this like an episodic kind of series, or are you looking to spin this out as a feature film? What are you thinking on this?
This is episodic.
Okay.
It's not this. The story is bigger. It's too big just to be a film.
Okay.
By itself. So that's why I plan on going with it. And the great thing about it is this particular film. I'll go ahead and talk about this one. This particular film that I did release. This was released as I did this fast, getting it to a film festival, because I didn't. It's like one of the years I wanted to make sure I got something in, and I had. Right. But the thing is, I had been writing on this story for a while. I had scripts and things like that, and I did not know, where I would start. But I was like, let me just put a movie into this film festival here in Charlotte. Hence the one that everybody sees now. And I gotta say, my actors, I wrote off the content I had. I wrote I wrote this particular script in a week. And my actors, we shot this in 3 days.
Wow.
And the actors to have almost basically no rehearsal time.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them being first-time actors. I was floored in the good way. So that's that particular. We spent more time editing than I did filming. So
it's supposed to be that way, by the way.
I was under a strict deadline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I actually had to have that thing in like 4 days after we finished shooting the last scene.
Wow.
But the good thing was the guy at the film festival said I could turn in a rough and get it tweaked up until he gave me up until a week before the festival.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah. Well, it kind of helps when the first year he had the festival, I won an award there. The first year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, but yeah.
How was it received?
This particular one, the reception was pretty interesting. It did not win an award, but I had a lot of questions because at the film festival I had a lot of questions so far as I had a lady from New York. This is the one always trips me out. I had a lady from New York. She asked me what my budget was, and when I told her the budget, because it was so low, she was like floored because she know up in New York if she did anything any close to that, it was going to be a couple $1,000s.
Right.
So that was interesting, and people there they clapped and whatnot. The interesting feedback was what was received outside of the festival. Thing. People got back with me about some things that needed to be tweaked at the time. This is not the final. They didn't see what the final version is that you see now. because there was a lot of things that were confusing to people, and and some things drew out when it didn't need to. Interesting. Fireworks, gotta love it. So,
hey, if you get shot, just let us know, okay?
Oh yeah, I will.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because you'll probably hear me cuss real loud, unless you just don't hear me at all.
Well, we'll post-produce any cussing out. And it is no, seriously, it is hard. It is the 4th of July. This is kind of a tough time unless you can get into, a broadcast booth or a soundproof room. So don't feel bad about it. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about is, okay, so you put this whole thing together. I've done I don't want to say a fair amount. I've done some film production work myself.
Right.
And one of the things that does help is being able to have your friends contribute the time and effort to help your success. And it sounds like you had some very cooperative people like that. For example, I did a production trailer for a feature film that I want to shoot. And normally the budget for that kind of trailer would be like $65,000-$70,000. And I actually got it done for $130 worth of food. So I felt good about that.
Right.
But the question I want to ask is, how did you get your friends so involved and so kind of, to have the buy-in that it required to pull off something like that in a matter of days?
Give me a second. I'm about to crank the car up and put this air conditioning on, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
So, to answer your question, I must say that, one, the two main stars, the two ladies, Lacey and Chastity being the main one that's about Felicia. I got to say that over the years, I've known them like 3 years and less. But I explained the story to them a while back, and it's like eventually we're going to do it. And I have an old picture of them two wearing vests and guns, and they enjoyed it. They liked they liked the story, and both of them. Chastity, I'll give her this. She's more of wants to do more comedy, but she's a performer naturally. And I tell her this to her face, so even if she listens to this, if she's listening, it's nothing no different than I've told her before. And the other girl, Lacey, I don't know why she did it, but she enjoyed herself. She got into the character, and it was fun. It was different, and her silliness yet enthusiasm. It was there. It was just something I wanted to do. The girl, Lalisha, the one who had to be good and bad. She really has this thing for the arts. She wanted something else to do, and she's phenomenal on camera. And just for her to be able to play nice Susie Homemaker to crazy chick, I'm trying to kill you, but still being the same person. And I mean, that was something for her. I mean, that was, and just for her to get it that fast. Like I said, she went with me to help pick out some of the wigs that she had to wear. I mean, I just talked to him about the idea. It was something different. Guy Jones, Renaissance Jones, the one who was playing the bad guy, that's his passion. He's also a director of his own films, and he was, he helped me out. I've helped him out, and that's basically what it's been. Everybody pulling together because they want to see something. Okay, they want to see. they wanted to see a project come to life. I get this out. In my first Jello shot. You know that? Sorry. So it was Adrian, the guy who did the visual effects, he was the same guy that I told you we went and bought cameras a while back. We've known each other since the 8th grade. One of the other guys that ran the other camera, he's a director as well. Roy, who did the fight choreography, nice, good friend of mine. Met him through the guy Adrian. Him knowing martial arts, and I talked to him about the story a long time as well. He was wanting to train and show them something, to use. So it was all about the project.
Well, and the thing is as I sit here, I don't necessarily think about, even the whole state of North Carolina being a hotbed of film production. It's not what you would normally think.
Right.
What kind of resources do you guys have over there? I mean, do you have a lot of people who are into doing film? Is there an industry there? Do they have a film industry there? Because, okay, you mentioned having the film festival, and obviously festivals can be held anywhere, but you don't normally get a film festival in a city where there's no film. So I guess what I'm wondering is how much film do you have going on in your area?
The thing about it is where I'm at. I'm in Independence, and there is a lot here that let's say is not recognized by, as you stated, you don't see a hotbed for it because a lot of people are independent, and what happens is, there are a lot of shows that are filmed here. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. You got Wilmington, that they basically, Screen Gems or Sony Studios, one of the two is down there, right? You have Charlotte has Homeland, Banshee. Even North Carolina, Eastbound and Down, I think, was filmed here. You have there's been some other things that's filmed here. I was told NCIS, I think, came here one time, or Bones, one of those shows have been here. What happens is you have there's an industry here. There's been a lot of things going on where there have been bills and things trying to bring incentives here to North Carolina. It is a film industry here, but again, you have a lot of people coming from the more film industry basic states come in here, use up resources, and get missing. So by the time you still here, you see it in the credits for about 2 seconds. This is where it's filmed. Thank you for North Carolina Film Commission. But you have more people that's independent that don't have that are filming here, but they don't have the resources like, they don't have access, because of budgets, they don't have access to everything like the bigger budget Hollywood films are. A lot of people here are doing a lot of stuff independent. There are more people doing stuff independent that you might not hear about than there are the bigger ones.
Yeah, and I also wonder if it's a matter, too, like here in Illinois, there's a 30% tax credit for any movie production above $100,000. So, like the film I'm going to do here next year is going to have a $2.5 million budget. And for that $2.5 million budget, we're going to get a 30% tax credit, which is huge. I mean, that's a lot of extra money that you get to apply to your movie that you don't have to pay in taxes. Or if you have to borrow, from people who are just straight up capitalists and they want a good return on their money, you can also sell those tax credits for about 90 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
So that's what makes Chicago. I mean, that's why they did Transformers here in Chicago.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight and some of those other bigger budget films, because the tax incentive was there. And,
right.
And because of that, it sounds like for you, too, in your area, the fact that more productions get done here means that more of the support infrastructure for doing a film winds up being here as well. I mean, obviously, right. Chicago, we've got a big film community here. We've got people doing independent stuff all the time. We even have a lot of, the big studio stuff happening. Although, for television and things like that, we have our bigger channels. We had Oprah's studio. Harpo was also doing independent productions. But, this is Chicago. It's not any city, in your whole state, is as large as this. And I don't say that with any derision at all. It's just a matter of population. So let me ask you this. When you look at what your state has to provide, and the fact that so many more, and it sounds like the number of independent projects that are done there is increasing. Would you say that that's fair, that it's increasing? That is fair. And yeah, so you must have the infrastructure to support doing big-time film there. Right, but it's a big divide here. Where I'm at, if I seen, like you're talking about $2.5 million for your film, right? Yes. I could do my whole series. That's a crazy amount, but go ahead, yeah. I could do my whole series I want to on that with money left over. More than enough money left over, right? Because I'm still on the very low end of filming. That's where I'm at, right? And I'm not at that point where it's mortgaging houses or like I said, getting to the people who are investing like that. And here in North Carolina, it's that kind of sale is where I'm at, in this. That's where I'm working my way up to. Okay. That's where I'm working my way up to. So I only know but so much. Like the tax incentives that they've been fighting over here in North Carolina, trying to get bigger companies here. They've been battling this for a couple of years. I think you got to spend at least $10 million here. So to get tax credits? Right, to get tax credits. So you got to spend like $10 million. Oh, okay. Yeah. Which is nothing for the Hollywood budget, people. But in independent, you're spending anywhere from $200 to at least maybe $100,000, maybe a $200,000 budget. You're not getting anything. You're still totally independent. Yeah, I don't want to leave you with the wrong impression. I mean, the only reason why we're getting $2.5 million is because we're going to try to buy some A-list actors to do cameos. Okay, no, I don't. And that's what makes it so expensive. Otherwise, I could probably, if I were to be honest, we're looking at maybe an $800,000 budget to do a full feature film. And the other thing is, Chicago's more expensive than where you guys are. I mean, right. It costs more to do everything here, and that's another plus that you have too, because permits, blocking streets, scheduling, even putting up your talent in really nice accommodations is much cheaper down there. If I want to put somebody up, like an A-list type up in some place here, we're figuring airfare, travel, and probably $1,500 a night. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't know how to spend $1,500 a night if I was in a hotel myself. But no, I'm serious. But so it's a different kind of budget than what you have, and the fact of the matter is, the reason things cost what they do there is the reason why you're getting more and more people coming to do their productions in your area. And that's huge, because everything is just, it's over-the-top expensive. Well, you know how much it is. Just look at how much the electronics are. Look at how much cameras are and and lighting and all of that stuff. And then you have to pay people to schlep stuff around. And, unless you're in school, you don't get these volunteer production assistants who will just show up just to be happy to working on a film, And that's another reason why I think you were very lucky and very shrewd to get the kind of people that you had working on your production, because two things. It made all the difference in the world for you getting done quickly, and it made all the difference in the world in you getting it done within a reasonable budget that you could afford,
Yeah, I mean, I'm paying for this out of pocket, and and I don't have a high-end job, but I do have high-end bills. but it's and get it done quick. I mean, just the thing is, the people here we have that love. We had this thing going on down here about Eastland Mall that we were supposed to be a big studio, supposed to be coming, but the people who are in my realm, the independent people, are like, okay, if that's not going to get our actors that are down here that are hungry, some extra roles or something where they got speaking roles, do we really care about it? Are people on RN able to benefit from it? Because we know, just as any other company that comes in from out of town, they mostly bring their people in.
That is true.
And that will leave us here with nothing. So the people here in North Carolina, in Charlotte, they're very hungry. I mean, you just gotta have something for them, and sometimes it's about getting that right fit. It's about getting out there, knowing where it is. I mean, if you're not in with a casting agent around here, you're not going to get in. You're going to almost not find out about some of these things. And another thing about North Carolina, which is kind of interesting, is this is not one of those places where SAG is going to be a helpful thing for you, because there's more independent projects around here than there are for SAG people.
Right.
So I know probably in Chicago, you got people that's definitely SAG-AFTRA.
Well, we also have a SAG office right here too. So when you have a production, and if you try to do and you try to use a SAG actor, even though it's a low budget movie classified as low budget, if you don't have your SAG waivers, they're just as medieval on you as they are in Hollywood.
Right. I got a guy that he went SAG after he did my project that got him the acting bug. He went and did somebody else's project. Then after he got his money up, he went ahead and went SAG, and then he's finding out, there are not that many projects around here. So, but then there's also, again, the other end of it, which is you do have one of the guys that I'm going to be using for future episodes of POLOSOLO. He's getting a lot of jobs around here, but because this is also a Bible Belt type place, and I'm not trying to box anybody in or nothing. You have your religious channels and religious, your religious movies that are filmed here. If you're not, at least trying out for those communities, that's where you'll get that constant work. You'll have to get into those around here. They're constant. They get the budget.
Yeah.
Because they definitely get the budget, and you don't have to be, like you said, you get that one big, you get that one or two big names in. So of course, that right there is going to make people come off that money. So if if I did POLOSOLO with some pretty big actors, like you said, this would definitely have cost me a lot more. But one thing this does with my friends. And knowing them, this also is two things: that to continue forward using them brings a sense of loyalty. But talking to them about the business, they also understand that other end too if something else comes up. And the biggest joke I had with one of them is that I said, "What if I got Gabrielle Union to play your part?" I was like, "You could at least tell everybody Gabrielle is playing you." It's not But if I had those people on there, yeah, they come off the wallet. I mean, it'd be a lot different production. I wouldn't be using a T3i in a Zoom. I'd be renting a Red or a C500 and having people with 5- and 6-way audio mixers and people with color and equipment on the set.
No, I get you. Yeah, hang on a second. You're listening to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. And this is our July 4th, 2014 edition, and Micah Lorick is our special guest. And not only is he our special guest, but he has been kind enough to actually share, while we're on the air, fireworks for those of you who are inside and not able to see any. You're able to hear them over the air. So, again, man, thank you for that, because, there are some shut-ins who probably check out this show. And,
right.
And for those of you who pick this up as a podcast, you will be reliving the day as if you were just there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the business of doing business. You started out pretty young. You started out in your early 20s, and I say this in no derision whatsoever, but you started out as a wedding photographer and doing kind of pick up private events like that to get to basically to pay the bills and to sustain the creative part of what you wanted to do, correct?
Starting off, yes.
Okay, well, of course, starting off, but we're gonna evolve past that. But the thing that I want to ask you is, when you started off, the hard part. I don't even want to presume that. Tell us a little bit about learning the business of doing business, because for a lot of creative people, that is the hardest thing to master, because most people, okay, let's say you're an artist, you know how to paint, you can turn out exquisite works and things like that, but unless you've got some high-powered agent or someone to sell for you, you're still at the beginning kind of a one-person shop. And so I presume were you. And so tell us a little bit about the evolution of kind of building your business sense. I mean, did you have good instincts to start off with? Or did you find out that you were making some mistakes, or maybe even assigning your time or, in a way that wasn't so cost-effective? Give us a little kind of a snapshot of how you built up the business of doing business.
Well, to answer that question, I am still crawling. And
we all are. Yeah. I get you.
You got to crawl. And the thing is, you're correct. Without knowing the business of it, it's good to. I'm still on the creative end. I can put out creative work, but I know, and I'm learning that you're gonna have to have those people to push for you. These people who are your mouthpiece. These people who are going to be able to sell that for you. That business end is something, and so far as the creative works that I have to say thank God. If anybody else, thank whoever it is that you're with. If you have people that's willing to stick by you because they believe in what you're doing. But let's call it what it is. Everybody needs to eat, so I'm still learning. So what happened with me is that I put my money in production, but I haven't learned how to do media. It's like Moses. It's like Moses when he went to just before he went to go tell Pharaoh, "Let my people go." God told his brother, "You're gonna have to speak for Moses for a second till he get things right." So everybody is going to need Moses. If you're concentrating as a creative, you're concentrating on that end. You're going to need somebody else, unless you're good at it yourself, to put that out there, to put out whatever it is work you got out there. So on the creative end, that's the part I'm still learning from the business. So as you telling me that, and this is not a, like you said, you did when you were talking earlier, you didn't make me feel bad about anything. because some more fireworks for you guys. I think that's what that is. For all I know, it could have been a 22. Anyway,
well, let me give you an example. You know, you brought up a good point. You know, with Moses, and here's the deal. Moses had the power. Moses was the man, but you know, he brought his brother Aaron for him, and a lot of people don't know this. But when Moses went before the Pharaoh, he brought Aaron. And if you read deep into the Bible, you'll find out the reason why was Moses had the idea. He was the power. He was the majesty. He was the push. But Aaron came and spoke for him. And part of that, you'll find if you read deep, Moses actually stuttered.
Right.
And so Aaron had to speak for him. And it's not a bad analogy because, you know, creative types are not always the best salespeople.
Right.
You know, sometimes, you know, the worst thing in the world is to bring, like, the creative type to a sales meeting to talk about how to strategize because sometimes creative types...
Sorry, I think that was
That's
a 38.
Okay. Sometimes creative types just don't see things from a business perspective because they're not schooled in it. Okay,
right.
So it sounds to me like at least you know where you may have some operational deficiencies, and that you're doing the best you can to cover those deficiencies, or at least work them a little bit better. In your, you know, where you are now, on a, let's say, a weekly basis, how do you think you split your time? Like, what percentage of your time is spent in creative endeavor, and what percentage of your time is you personally having to do the business of doing business? Is it 50-50, 60-40? Give us a little idea about how that's working out for you even today, especially today.
I will say, for me, it's, and this is being honest as possible. If I say I spent more like 90% creative, 10% business, and that's being maybe even brutally honest because I'm comfortable in that realm. I need to move the other way. And I've got people that's, you know, trying to help me, but honestly, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm comfortable because I also know that I can't, if I don't have a product, I can't sell and push it. So
Sure.
I have to spend that time, and spending that time creative, doing it because I got to make sure I got something. I got to make something else out. I got to have something else, and I can turn around and spend a lot of my time working on POLOSOLO, but I also know I got to build an audience. But that still doesn't give me insight on the business end. My thing around here is who do I go to for investors? Because as we were just talking about how North Carolina is, and I say it's a big divide here. But there are people that are willing. You just, like I said, got to know the business and get to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, around here, the movers and shakers are the people that are out and about while I'm at work. I have an 8 to 4:30 job. All the decisions are made during that time by those people who pay folks like me. So I do, so I know, like I said, since I have that job, when do I get to get out and meet them? So I need.
I think that's the hurdle almost every creative has, because for me, I write novels, but I can't get out there. First of all, you can't get on Barnes and Noble's shelves unless you have a publisher pushing for you. It's like getting the end caps at the grocery store. If your name isn't Pepsi or Coke, you're not going to get the end caps. And so marketing has always been one of the most difficult parts for creatives to not only master, but to just execute well, because it's difficult. And as you said, if you don't have product, there's nothing for you to push. But that divide, man, that divide where you have to figure out, how the hell am I going to meet this deadline? And then part B of, okay, I met this deadline. Now, how do I get somebody to pay attention to what it is I'm doing? These are the big questions that have to be answered for any creative. And you're early enough in your startup that it sounds like, you're not overly staffed. Would that be I think that would probably be honest, right? You don't have a marketing department. Nope. You don't have your own shipping department. You don't have somebody who's going out there and making, 50 phone calls a day to try to get someone interested in interviewing you so that you could at least be in mass media in some way. Trying to get a magazine to be excited enough to want to profile you when and you're a fairly new startup as far as, you're not Warner Brothers, you're not Sony, and that's just the way it is. The marketing and the business of doing business is an overtime job, and I think the struggle for creatives is how do you take that overtime job and find the necessary time and effort to do the overtime job when you still have to do your creative stuff. You have to film, you have to edit, you have to, do all the post-production, all of those things, and yet, somehow you're supposed to fit into that week. And, that's right, yeah, you have to pay your bills. And exactly. So in that entire week, you got, let's say you do a 40-hour job. Yep. Let's bump that up to maybe 52 hours, including transit and all that other stuff. Okay, so 50 hours out of the week, you're doing your square job, and the passion that you have for your real or what you have real passion for is something that has to come second, and that's a tough thing for people to deal with, especially creatives. That the thing that you want to do is the second thing that you're going to do, is the thing that you have to do after you pay that bill, after you pay the rent. You mentioned that what you're doing is you're trying to build up kind of like an association of people around you so that you could spread some of this work out and hopefully have some of that done. Where are you in that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, my goal for this year is to get it where it's not an association where I actually have my own team. It's not where that's the thing. I've got to be able to get people on board. Not to the point where I'm able to pay them yet. And so I guess it would be an association, but this is what they do. They're doing. I've got a person who's trying to definitely keep that fire lit under me to do that. Because if I'm, because it is important. Some of the people that I've worked with, I noticed that they have that already, and so it's not a thing of I do have to get where they are, but it has helped them out, and I need to be able to do the same thing. So I'm working on that's my job of this year. And I have great people that I can do that with. I just need to, like I said, come up with a product, get something going, have them be able to do that. Maybe think to delegate some of that responsibility you're talking about, have them do that research to find what I'm looking for while I'm, I've kind of had that before at one point in time, but let's just say other thing about certain creatives in certain positions, let's just say you try not to mix business and other and pleasure. And I've been working, that kind of shot me in the foot in one project. So, you got to find people that are genuine and keep that mix, keep that mix out of there too. I know that's a little bit of extra information, but I could have had it, but it was just some stuff was just got the way it did.
No, I understand. I mean, yeah, and that it's kind of first of all, it's a tough divide because if you're not paying people, then there has to be some sort of intrinsic satisfaction that the people around you are getting for doing what they're doing with the promise of pay later, okay? Because, of course, that doesn't pay anybody's bills. And sometimes it's easiest to rely on your friends of all kinds, whatever kind of friend it is, because they have an affinity for you. And the only thing you can do is try to keep something like that from kind of screwing things up. But the hardest part of the whole thing is getting to the point where you have sustainable revenue so that people actually have a full-time job. And that's what you're shooting for, right?
Exactly. And a lot of people I work, that work with and willing to help me, they know that is what I'm shooting for. And because of what you just said earlier. And they know, they tell me, Mike, it's okay until you get to that point. I said, but it's still, there's some things that I feel that's trying to, I'm trying to do differently, because it's also an appreciation, the fact that they took that time out of their busy schedule. And I mean, that doesn't mean we can't be friends or or whatever, but still, it's genuine. I'm just saying, but it's something that needs to be. It's something that needs to be done.
No. I laugh, but I don't laugh at you. I laugh with you. If I had a nickel for every time someone said, well, like an unpaid intern would come to me and she would say, you're not really paying us any money. Do you think maybe I could get a little something in trade? And it's hard to say no. No, I'm just kidding about that. That's like the worst thing to do. But I mean, it is hard unless you have, again, if you're putting together the structure of a company and maybe you decided, okay, this is going to be a partnership, even that, saying that requires, the structure of a partnership agreement so that everybody knows what the expectations are and how those expectations are going to be met.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to tell you the funniest thing I ever gave up for someone who did work for me was one of my first films called Based on a Couple True Stories. Okay. That one's on my Lorent Productions page on YouTube. This girl, she's a Marine, and I had been going to flea market picking up cheap swords and whatnot for decoration.
Okay.
She said to me, Mike, I would like to have that one particular sword. And I'm sitting over here like, you know what? You've gone above and beyond. It's nothing for me to part with that thing.
Sure.
So, and she's, she's always been there. And if it wasn't for good reason, she's always there when it's time for acting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, that's one of the things. And she's like, when I'm ready to move into this other realm, when I got something that needs to be pushed, and I got some things down that I want to, she is also one of those people who's like, hey, I kind of know some things. You just need to let me know when you're ready.
But having people like that be able to tell you exactly what's going on is exactly what you need. You don't want someone to get, 6 months, a year down the road and go, but I thought. And the moment somebody says that, then there's trouble, because obviously somebody had, an idea or an expectation that just wasn't congruent with what you were going to do, and then that's when trouble starts.
Right.
While we're talking about this, let's talk about your future plans. You're at the point right now where you're looking to put together a good team. Once that's done, I'm not sure how long you think that's going to take, but let's look maybe 5 years down the road. in these next 5 years, what do you plan on really concentrating on? I mean, what's your 5-year plan to tighten up the business end of your plan?
Okay, next 5 years to tighten their plan to tighten up. By this time, 5 years from now, already having the team in place. So far as the filming end of it, there will be. I would already have at least 2, maybe 3 series, on television. So by that time, it's going to be, already I will have that marketing department built where they're actually contacting folks for television, or if we're pushing this to a point where things are on Netflix and things like that. So really and truly, really starting off with the people who, have already been there. If I'm answering this question correctly, you talk about this is just a dialogue. When I talk to people, I ask them that question also, if I'm answering it correctly. In 5 years, where I'm looking at, with this is that Lorent Productions, which is basically the filming end, we probably have, like I said, 2 or 3 ideas already that's already going to where there's no, we already got that production, that marketing team in place. There's already a payroll. If I'm answering it correctly, I don't have that 5-year mapped out because I know I gotta get that written down, but I just know what I have to do by the end of this year, by this year's end. But in 5 years, it's gonna be, it's not gonna be, I'm not gonna be sitting where I am right now. I should have something on SCIFI. I should have something on, like I said, or Netflix. I should have something where people are calling me. But the people that I'm running into now, about 3 people from marketing, they're waiting for something. I should have them working for me, or at least as somebody who is at least contracting out work to do that. So that's where I'm seeing just from the marketing. Should be enough. I should be getting enough money from sponsors who's wanting to put ads and commercials into my stuff to where it is that sustainable money. That's just what I'm seeing. Hopefully in these 2 years already starting to do that.
Yeah. May I ask if you have you written out a business plan? I'm just curious.
I try to, and I end up stopping. It's because what gets me is like the numbers, and that's ironic. I'm a math person. I can tell you what I can spend, but right. I can't project revenue, especially in something like this. If I did it just based off my weddings and things like that, what I need to spend, that I can do. But so far as film industry, I don't know. And I'll say this much. My mother pointed me to a scripture in the Bible saying, and I'm paraphrasing, saying that is a pastor or a preacher basically doesn't get honor in his own home. So one thing in the area that I'm staying in, they're cliquish down here. So that's why it's like kind of hard for me to somewhat gauge in this area.
Right.
To be able to give projections.
Well, you know what? There's software out there that really can give you a boost in your corporate intelligence, and can kind of turn you more productive in terms of being able to do estimations, and projecting revenue is always tough. I mean, if I were going to give any advice to any black business, and I have done this for probably almost 60, 70 black businesses here in the Chicago area, first thing you do is you look at what they think their revenue projection is, and then you divide that by about 10. because it's hard to do, so you might as well be as conservative as possible.
Right.
Second of all, for you, you mentioned that you start business plans and then you stop. And there's actually some software out there, and I know you're in your car, but you can drop me a note on BSFS and I'll give you a link to it. But there's business plan software out there. And I will tell you this, and I know, oh man, I know how bad this is going to sound, but you know what? If you show up someplace, let's say you want to get a loan to do a production, and you can get one or two, people to help you finance the thing, but you still have to maybe go to a lending association or something like that in order to get money. But if you have a business plan for that movie and you show them exactly where the money's going, and you show what you think, might be the return on it. And let's be honest, people who invest in movies are looking for about 130 or 135% return on their money because it's called high-risk money.
Right.
So they're going to want to know, well, how are you going to get this money? And the fact of the matter is, in terms of film distribution, you can't say jack about how you're going to make any money until you have a distribution deal. And getting one of those is the hardest part about it. But
right.
For you to do something episodic, and maybe, for television or even for the web, if you do something episodic and it's got decent quality and it's consistent and it comes out regularly, then you can advertise or you can estimate what your revenues are going to be in order to give the people who you have to borrow money from or who you have to explain things to. Once you develop a good business plan, you hang on to it for about the first 5 years and just keep updating. And mostly what you update is you update your revenues and your expenses and see how they are according to your initial predictions. And if people see that you're about the business of doing business insofar as you want to do, and you actually do a business plan that you hang on to and you work with, it's not so hard to borrow money. It really isn't. And I don't want to sound completely like I'm blowing my own horn, but I've been doing this for a long time. And in March, I wrote an executive summary for a brand new business for $13.6 million, and we got the money on the basis of that 3-page summary. That's not a bad deal. Even I was surprised. I thought that I would have to provide more substantiating documentation. But if you're serious, people see it. If you really apply yourself, people see it. And sometimes using software can be an easy thing, like this Palo Alto software, Business Plan Pro.
Actually,
are you using that?
I got that, yes.
Yeah. Did you know that every business that I've done a business plan using that business software, business plan software, all these businesses that I've done these business plans for usually got funded within 90 days.
Wow.
So I hope that that's encouragement for you, because everybody in the film industry, everybody even peripherally in the film industry, and even people who do YouTube, just YouTube and episodes, the hardest part of getting it done is getting the financing to do what you need to do, and having a realistic approach to figuring out your finances is going to help you get funded. So I'm gratified to hear that, but don't quit next time you start, okay?
Okay, I won't.
I'm serious.
No, I got you. I mean, you're right, because I've been thinking about. I'm glad you even said something, because I think about POLOSOLO. The way we're writing it to be episodal, I want it to look better than what it does. I want to be able to have everything, be able to have more hands on deck, be able to have, better, things do, better equipment and better things, because we're really taking a lot of time in with the story. We're really developing the characters beyond what's been seen. And I'm learning some more things about camera movements and stuff, trying to build this tension. And one of my big issues was one of the big issues in the beginning of that story that you guys seen was that it took 5 minutes to get to the action. I want to be able to bring be able to do be able to do something on a fairly, I guess, reasonable budget. Now, a reasonable budget depends on, I guess, what's written, or it depends. One person's reasonable budget is a different person's reasonable budget. But to to do that, I'm sitting over here thinking, I'm listening to you. I'm still thinking no less than, hundreds of thousands of dollars for this thing. That's what I'm thinking. But, like I said, I still got to get the story and see where it's going so I can write that business plan for it. I mean, I got,
for you, for you, the process is going to be kind of backwards. Well, it's not backwards, it's actually forwards. For you, the process is first write the script, and then from the script, you can do the budget from the script based upon, actors, crew, equipment, locations, and things like that. And once you have that down, then it's much easier to at least get a start doing your business plan, because you have to do your business plan and have realistic numbers. So let's say you go ahead and let's you write out the first 6 episodes. Okay? Still there?
I got you.
Okay, so you write out your first 6 episodes. And then once you go through your first 6 episodes and you do a realistic budget of what each episode is going to cost, then you go and you plug all those numbers into your business plan to show over the first 18 months we are going to have these expenses, and this is what it's going to cost to do this. These are some of the offsets we're going to have. Some are going to be product placement. Some are going to be advertising. Some are going to be, sponsorships or what have you. And once you start putting things together like that, first of all, so few people do that when you walk in there and you have a business plan, people are going to pay more attention to you, because I'll be honest with you, most people don't write business plans. About 2% of the people write business plans, and it's even less than that when you get into film. So once you do that, people are going to pay attention. They're going to look at it. They're going to go, okay, I understand this right now. This is where your money's going. Have you considered? And when you're talking to money people and they start out with a sentence like that, have you considered? You listen carefully, because what they may be doing is telling you, hey, I got a way for you to maybe do this with less money. And that's always important. The last production trailer I did was about a $65,000 trailer, and I got it done for the cost of $130 worth of food.
Right.
Now, even when I told the people, some of the money people, that they perked right up. They figured, oh, he can do this. He obviously has a way of at least managing his expenses. You have you're building a tight crew. You're building a tight production crew around you, including, I'm guessing from what you said, you're trying to build a good business unit.
Right.
Your marketing people, your that whole part that has to do with doing business. If you put that together and you show people exactly what you're doing, you're ahead of 98% of the people who try to borrow money. All right? And at the beginning, you have to borrow money, because there's no business that jumps out of the box that's profitable.
Right.
Well, maybe selling weed. But besides that, well, you just have to cut off some of your own. But see, the thing is to be very honest, the business of doing business, especially for film, is tough. And there are so many ways you can get screwed. If you deal with a big studio, they'll tell you, because of the way they do their accounting, well, we're sorry, even though your movie pulled in $300 million, it hasn't made $1 yet. You're still in debt. And these are, you have to figure out ways to make sure that you're protected at the same time, which is also why having a good, strong business unit makes a lot of sense.
Right.
I like the fact that you're creating an episodic series, because at the very beginning, you may not get broadcast opportunity for that series. But look at how many series The web, look how many series went on the web first and then came out and ended up on TV. That SCIFI series, Sanctuary, that was on the web first,
right.
and then they brought it to the Sci-Fi channel. So
right.
The cool thing is if you have great production values, you have good stories, and you have good writing, even if you throw it up on the web first and you're not making $1 off of it right off the bat, you're still going to get attention, because eventually people are going to see it. Word of mouth is going to, your buzz is going to hit. So I think that you have chosen a great path. I mean, not that I'm the great naysayer or the great soothsayer of what's going to happen, but having a good plan is something that should be obvious to everybody. And I think that, the only question anybody should have at this point about what you're going to do is whether or not the writing is going to be good enough to sustain the series. And time will tell. Well, I'm serious. Once we see some of the episodes, we're going to know. You're going to know.
Oh man, I got people I'm working with now that is the thing that we're focusing on, because it's been a couple of months we started. I had to sit with a couple people, and they're helping me revamp this, and they pick the hell out of my brain about the series. And it was all out of trying to make it better. And they asked me every question you could think. And one thing about POLOSOLO in doing this is not only do I have to create backstories for the main characters, I have to create stories for the alternate Earth versions and what issues they're going through. And because I'm trying to root this as much in reality, even though we know it's not reality, something people can relate to. It's kind of like, you know how Walking Dead is. People tell, it's always about zombies, but no, I tell people it's not about the zombies, it's about these relationships these people have. The zombies are just there to let you know it's post-apocalyptic and if some stuff is dragging on, you get to kill a bunch of them, and, it helps the story out a little bit. So
it's an age-old story. It's how people react in times of extreme stress and extreme danger. Okay, so you're right. It could be a zombie. It could be anything. But it's good that you guys, Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks.
Exactly.
He said his process is that when they have a script, and he was talking about this about Gene Wilder and him getting together to do Young Frankenstein. He says you take an idea and then you just beat it to death until you can't beat it anymore, and whatever is left is stuff that has passed the test, the test of continuity, of good storytelling and things like that. So it sounds to me like you're doing much the same process. You're going through and finding out the whole structure of your creative universe so that once you know that, then writing situations and dealing with your characters seems to be pretty easy once you have that framework done.
And then one of the things I did talk to about the people who's helping me out is what me and you talked about earlier, which was once we've been through that process, then we go back and we write the episodes, find out what we're going to spend in each one of them. So I know what to write down for a budget.
Right.
So it's as a matter of fact, we're starting back next week. We've had some life stuff happen. We're starting back next weekend with this. And believe me, I can say this much. I mean, I'm going to say this before. I don't know how, I guess we got another 15, 17 minutes or something left.
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead and say to my actors that helped me out on the first one, even no matter how big, how small, from Chastity to Lacey to Lalisha to Pam, Jerron, Renaissance, Rick. I'm trying to make sure I remember everybody because I'm in my car. They're probably, Mike, you ain't mentioned me. The actors, again, to bring life to the characters that, you basically had no prep time. Some of these characters I didn't think of until this story that I put out. These guys brought it, and that, because of them, it's already given me a sense of what to do next, that they're be added into what's moving forward. So, another thing is I will not be reprising my role. So I have to. I'm paying, and it was brought to me. I need to pay more attention to directing.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I did that. So to find someone, as handsome and as dashing as I am, it's going to be real tough.
Oh, that's going to be rough, man. That's going to be tough. I mean, that might set you back a year.
I know.
So, I laugh because I got forced to be an actor in the production trailer for the feature that we're doing, and I in no way wanted to be in front of the camera. First of all, I'm in the fitness protection program, and I really don't need everybody to know that. And so, but I mean, I understand that you have chosen to move forward in a very serious and very business-like manner, because the fact of the matter is you're the producer.
Right.
You're not just the director. You're the producer. And
right.
that alone, a lot of people don't realize that, being a non-executive producer, executive producers just put up money, but being a producer that's the overtime job in this creative world. Because to be a producer means you have to keep track of every single detail of what's going on when you're doing your film. And that's not easy. That's just not easy. And so I don't envy you having that task, especially early on while you're trying to build your team. As you get more and more people to help you out, spreading the work around is going to be a lot easier. But for the time being, for the task you've set yourself, you still got a lot of work ahead. But you got all of the pieces, and just from my cursory, and please, I hope nobody thinks that I think I'm a professional. When I talk about the kind of budget I'm going to have on my next movie, people go, "Oh man, that's a whole lot of money. You're so like, no. This means that the day production starts, I'm $2.5 million in debt."
Right.
People don't think in terms of that. They think, "Oh, you got all this money to do this movie." Yeah, but I got to pay 135% of that back. And they go, "You got 35% interest on there? Who'd you borrow the money from? The mafia?" No, well, sort of a bank, But see, that's the other thing. For you to go into full-on production, you're going to incur expenses. You have to have insurance. I mean, it is a startup business. Every single episode almost is like a startup business.
Exactly.
So getting to the point where you're going to really turn out a good product, it's going to take a lot of concentration. And I'm glad you've got the nucleus of a good production team, because you know what? Even if it's just your friends at this point, it's still going to count. It's going to help, because once everybody gets started, it's not I'm choosing names, Ray, my friend who held the boom or anything like that. It is your production team, and everybody is participating to make it a success.
Right.
I think you're going to do well. Let me ask you this: what's the climate like for finding any money in your area at all? And I realize that most of the productions that come there, they already have their money. Nobody, for NCIS, if they come down in your neighborhood to film, they're not coming down there to look for money. They already have their money. But in terms of for you to try to do what you want to do you think that in North Carolina, in the area, the possibilities for getting some kind of business assistance or having people treat you like a business early on, are the prospects good, do you think, or are you really going to have kind of a hump to get over?
The hump I have to get over is that right now, I have to whatever it is, I have to make it marketable to that person. One thing here, and I was told here, one of the big things is Black Sci-Fi isn't going to get it. I would have to play more towards, some of the other things that are going on, a drama, a reality show, some Christian-based something, and no disrespect to the ladies, that drama, making sure it's kind of like, geared towards them.
Right.
That's the thing that I would have to play towards to be a little more marketable and get the money, which is, again, to bring it back to POLOSOLO, those are some of the elements that I, episodally, that we plan on putting in them. So not only is it supposed to be an action, drama, sci-fi, well, with action and drama, and sci-fi is just going to, the drama part brings in all those other ends. But that right there, depending on how it's spent, is going to be a little hard. But is the money here? Yeah, depending on what you're going for. You have folks here that do plays. They get the money for that. They go that for the arts, but it's still cliquish around here. And it's who you're playing up towards. You get a white Christian drama out here that you're producing, and no disrespect to anybody, just call it what it is. They're going to get that, they're going to be able to get that money out here,
right.
Especially if it's, versus you got, now the other side of it is, you might get support for people doing, maybe some kind of drug drama, but again, it's because that's going to sell because there's a market for it. And then, just like
right.
I said, there's a big market for Black Christian stuff too. So it's really you definitely get your money playing towards whoever, whatever is.
Yeah, if you're gonna get into a niche, obviously, if there's money in that niche, you're going to get it. Let me ask you this: what about some of the local colleges there? I mean, do they have film programs where you can, get students who have at least an understanding of the process to help out, which will also help keep costs down, and you could possibly offer credit. You could pony up with or partner up with a school, and when you get into production, maybe defray some of your costs that way, and get some knowledgeable, and I'm not saying professional, but at least knowledgeable help.
Right. You're good. First of all, I gotta say again, Miss Chastity Johnson, who is Felicia on POLOSOLO, brought that to my attention. The girl who I was talking about, who I gave that sword to a while back, brought that to my attention. So when I go to do that, once we get ready to get going, that is definitely going to be something that I will be looking at doing. And there's about 4 places around here. Well, that for like colleges, we 4 or more, I think, colleges around here that'll probably allow me to do that. Our Art Institute is one. I think you guys got one up there in Illinois. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do, and we got. I'm very lucky because here in Chicago we have a Columbia, which is a film college, or media. I would say more media related college, and we get a lot of people from Columbia who want to work, and they'll work for free as interns because they do get experience that they probably wouldn't get any other way.
Exactly.
So that's always good. And then the other thing is, some of these people, if after a year or two, you're going to get to find out who's reliable and who's not reliable. And even from the people from school, from the students, you're going to find yourself winding up with a nice stable of go-to people who you could call up and say, hey, we need to reshoot X, X, and X. Could you come by and do sound? And they're going to say, oh yeah, because they've worked with you. And that's one of the ways I've been very lucky for the kind of film production I've done here in Chicago. Chicago's big,
Right.
I'm little, I'm not somebody that everybody knows. I've had some success. I've been very lucky. But the people I've worked with, if I call them up and I say, hey, I have something I need to do, can you give me a hand? There are quite a few people, and there's a few networking groups that I belong to that make a big difference. You know, like one networking group I pull people from all the time. And, you know, I've been lucky enough that the first 4 things that I ever wrote got made into movies. But I couldn't do that if we didn't have Columbia here, you know. So,
hold on, we got a fire truck going by. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I think partnering up with a school is not a bad idea if you have a school that's got, you know, where you can get some traction. You know what? I forget what's his name who did Destination Planet Negro. I'm gonna have to look that up.
I must look that up too.
Yeah, I'll look it up while we're talking. But so it sounds like you have a well mapped out plan ahead, and one of the things that I want to do is kind of keep up with you over the years and find out exactly how well you're doing, because it's important to support independence.
Oh yeah.
And not only that, but we have a thriving. Yeah, tell them shoot people a block away from you. Okay, we have a thriving population of independent creatives just in BSFS, and you know there's people all over your area from the Black Science Fiction Society.com website who you might be able to pull in to do some work with.
Yeah, I talked to Roy Hatcher about some of the modeling I want done for when we start getting into the episodes of POLOSOLO. I need him to make some topography changes to some stuff. So, and he does 3D modeling. Like I said, he's also going to be my fight choreographer. So, you know, and so I know definitely, you know, relying on him. He's already created an app that he's been out for. He's pushing out for Android and Apple, and he's working on something else. But he told me, he was like, "Hey, you need me, just let me know." You know, my visual effects guy Adrian, who's also sometimes runs my second camera, you know, he's the same way. He just needs something to, keep him going. He was the one who came up with the teleporting effects. Basically, after I explained to him how I wanted it to be, he came up with it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I mean, it was fun. We had to do one with green screen and one without. The one without was the tricky one. So, but yeah. So the thing is, and being able to bring the students in and have them learn from those two guys. Be something, because that's one of the things, I think the things you got to have somebody on set that does that for whatever you're looking for them to do, someone specific. I think that's what the Art Institute told me when I got a letter from them.
Right. Oh, by the way, the director of Destination Planet Negro was Kevin Wilmot. And he teaches, and I forget what school he teaches at, but it seems to be, well, someplace not in Chicago. That's the best I could do for that. We've got just a few minutes left here. Let me wind this up, first of all, by thanking you for being on this during a very boisterous evening.
Right.
I had to close all my windows and turn the air conditioner on to kind of tamp down, you know, the sounds outside. And for those of you who are listening, you know, we have been blessed and honored by having
Micah.
I'm sorry. Somebody just sent me a message. Micah Lorick on, and he is the owner of Lorent, Lorent Productions. Check him out on BSFS and take a look at some of the things that he's done in the past. you do a lot of fun stuff, and I wish you much success in the future. Although, with you going about it as methodically as you are, I think that things are going to fall into place for you very, very easily. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to say this real quick. One of the things and challenges, and I know we ain't got a lot of time, one of the things and challenges with me is that I'm trying to explain to it, though my people are excited and ready to get into it, I still want to make sure everything is safe or whatnot, keep injuries and stuff down. So, of course, kind of like how they did The Raid, the movie, I want to make sure that during that time everything is kind of down pat. So, yeah, I'm even methodical in that. I don't want anybody to get hurt. So it's going to have to take me to that other realm, insurance, padding, things like that, those type of things. So I try to be as methodical in all areas as possible. So I just want to let them know that as well when they hear this. So that it's serious business. You're serious business. This is not some students doing a pickup movie. I'll tell you a quick story because we can go a couple minutes over. But I had I was helping run a production company here in Chicago, and they were doing a fan film, a Power Rangers fan film. Okay, and they wanted to shoot on the roof of a building that I had control of, and the building is 3 stories tall. And they said they wanted to block a fight out up on that roof. And I said, okay, that's going to cost you $150,000. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They said, no, we have insurance. I said, no, you don't get me. In order to rig a roof to have a fight on, it costs $150,000. And then they said something stupid to me, but we promise we won't go near the edge. Like accidents don't happen. Right. And these same people, they were going to film out in the forest preserves. We were going out to the forest preserves. They had the location set up and everything. I was looking over all of the equipment to go out, and I said, where are the first aid kits and the EpiPens? And they said, what? I said, where are the first aid kits and the EpiPens? And they said, well, what's that for? I said, I happen to know that 2 of the people on your crew are allergic to bees. So if they get stung, what are you going to do when they're out there? Oh, well, so be careful out there. People who think making a movie is easy, it's not easy. People think that keeping people safe is easy, and it's not easy. You already know that. You already have all your, you just know. You just told me you know. So everybody out there who wants to do a movie, just remember, it's not all glamour and all fun. A lot of it is tedium. And the thing is, if you think about things before you get out there and you take precautions that ought to be taken, first of all, nobody's going to get killed and nobody's going to get sued. And sometimes in life, that's enough. All right, so on behalf of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website, I want to thank you, Micah, for being here. And I want to remind everybody that this show is on just about every single Friday in the universe at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We usually know within a few days before the show exactly who the host is going to be. For those of you who support BSFS, thank you very much. For those of you who listened and tuned in, I want to thank you very much because it warms my heart to know that somebody at least doesn't mind listening to my voice for a couple of hours. And also keep track of everybody. Keep an eye out for where Earth Squadron is. That is the first independent production of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. And, Micah, we're going to keep looking for works that you have. If you have new stuff, obviously, blog about it, pop up a note at BSFS so people can keep track of things. And if you're ever going to do a personal appearance anywhere, put it on the calendar so if anybody's in your neighborhood, they can come see you, okay? Okay, thanks. I will.
All right, man. And on behalf of Jarvis Sheffield, the creator of all things Black Science Fiction, who usually takes the show out, who is showing his wife a good time because it's her birthday today. Happy birthday to Mrs. Jarvis. Everybody have a great evening. Have a great day ahead of you. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, Micah.
You're welcome. Thanks. Have a good evening.
All right, everybody take care. Bye-bye. 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 All right, everybody take care. Bye-bye.